History textbooks successfully sell us a fairy tale about sterile laboratories where genius minds methodically and consciously push humanity into a bright future. In reality, the foundation of your comfortable life is poured from chronic messiness, outright negligence, and simply dirty hands. Your world wasn't saved by cold calculation, but because one biologist was too lazy to wash the dishes before vacation. Scientific progress works like a blind gambler. Someone drops toxic sludge on the floor, someone crosses wires, someone eats chemicals because of bad English. And voila! Civilization gets pacemakers, antibiotics, and Kevlar. Today we dissect 33 accidental discoveries, 33 absolute mistakes turned historic breakthroughs. From failed glue to pills that give you a boner instead of a healthy heart. Take off your white coats. Let's roll. Fact 1. The greatest savior of humanity was born from banal laziness and dirty dishes. Alexander Fleming simply went on vacation, leaving his laboratory looking like a typical college dorm, forgetting to wash a Petri dish. Reality is much funnier, as we are used to thinking that life-saving antibiotics were created in sterile conditions, to classical music. Nothing of the sort. Mold simply ate the bacteria while the scientists chilled, gifting the world penicillin. We pray to modern medicine, expecting miracles, but in fact, the 20th century's main medical breakthrough is literally fungus found in the trash. If Fleming had been a neat freak, half of us wouldn't be reading this text because of a simple scratch. Medieval alchemists drank liquid mercury for eternal youth, while we save ourselves with dirt sold in beautiful blister packs with holograms. Evolution's irony is amazing. So next time your mom makes you clean your room, boldly declare that you are growing a new panacea. Fact 2. Your sacred kitchen magic is a random side effect of combat radars. Engineer Percy Spencer stood next to an active military transmitter, trying to track enemy planes, and suddenly a chocolate bar in his pocket turned into a sticky puddle. Sounds like high-tech magic? Get real. We sincerely believe home appliance makers thought about how to quickly warm our morning coffee, but actually we use harsh army tech just to defrost a slice of yesterday's pizza. Imagine the scene. A giant radar scans the sky for nuclear threats while we adapted its little brother to melt cheese on nachos. If Tony Stark saw us wasting microwave physics to heat up cold soup, he would get depressed and delete his suit blueprints. It is like using a laser cannon to light a cigarette. Bon appetit, commanders of the couch forces. Fact 3. The stuff that permanently glues your fingers together during home repairs was supposed to be a rifle scope. During the war, scientists desperately sought clear plastic for sniper rifles, but got a substance that annoyed absolutely everyone with its incredible stickiness. Of course, the manufacturer tells us tales about innovations and special formulas for the home. Yeah, right. It is just rejected military garbage that turned out too sticky to look through. We grab this tube of superglue, hoping to fix a favorite vase, but end up gluing our thumb to our index finger for the next 2 hours. We act like natives who found a piece of UFO debris and decided to use it as a cutting board. Scientists spat at this sticky junk, and now we voluntarily pay money for it, setting ourselves up for a quest to rip off our own skin. Good luck explaining that to the trauma doctor when you arrive with a cup glued to your forehead. Fact 4. Space-age fastening technology is just a blatantly copied burdock burr. Engineer George de Mestral got tired of combing burrs out of his dog's fur after a walk, shoved this botanical trash under a microscope, and simply stole the idea from Mother Nature. Do you really think the famous Velcro used by astronauts in orbit is the fruit of sleepless nights in secret Pentagon labs? That is a brazen historical lie. We admire the technology of our jackets and sneakers, feeling like people from the future, though in fact, we just wear a synthetic imitation of a common weed. The Matrix glitched. We take something that annoyed humans and dogs for millennia, make a plastic copy and call it advanced design. It is as if someone patented a mosquito bite and sold it as elite piercing. Your poodle would be shocked at how many billions were earned from his suffering. Fact 5. Your steady heartbeat is the result of a tired electrician's error during soldering. inventor Wilson Greatbatch accidentally soldered the wrong resistor into a device, and the circuit unexpectedly began emitting an electrical pulse exactly in the rhythm of a human heart. And now let's drop these pretentious masks of great cardiologists. We are used to entrusting our lives to complex medical machines, believing every chip there was calculated by mathematical geniuses down to the thousandth of a millimeter. In reality, the pacemaker appeared because someone simply mixed up parts in a desk drawer. If aliens scanned our medical tech, they would decide we assemble life-saving devices by random guessing, like first graders with Lego. We trust the most important motor in our body to a chance event caused by simple absent-mindedness. Your heart beats because someone didn't get enough sleep back in the day. Dr. House would weep with laughter looking at this genius incompetence. Fact 6. Armored windows that save presidents' lives exist only because someone simply didn't wash a test tube. A French chemist dropped a glass flask on the floor, but it didn't shatter into shards because dried liquid plastic inside formed a protective film. You are mistaken if you think shatterproof glass was developed in super-secret bunkers ordered by special services. It is pure luck, on the level of a dropped sandwich. We buy cars with safety glass, feeling protected like in a tank, but in fact we are saved by dirt they forgot to scrape off lab equipment. Humanity is so afraid of cuts and disasters that it is ready to worship the messiness of one forgetful Frenchman. It is a classic logic failure. We demand perfect cleanliness in production, yet the greatest safety technologies are born in filth. The Terminator would burn with shame learning his optics are protected by dried plastic slime. Fact 7. Your elite non-stick frying pan is spoiled gas for industrial fridges. Scientist Roy Plunkett froze gas, and when he opened the cylinder, he found slippery white powder inside. Smell a rat? They sell us Teflon as a cosmic miracle, allowing us to fry eggs without a drop of oil, luring us into a world of healthy eating. In reality, we fry our morning food on a substance that was actually supposed to freeze products in giant refrigerators. We voluntarily heat a chemical anomaly to hundreds of degrees and rejoice that pancakes don't stick. If I wanted to sell you chemical waste, I would just call it non-stick coating, and you would line up. We eat off a coating whose original purpose was to be a refrigerant. Your omelette is frying on a gas man's mistake. Good luck explaining that thermodynamic joke to your stomach. Fact 8. The ability to look inside your bones appeared because of glowing trash cardboard. Wilhelm Röntgen was working in a dark room and noticed out of the corner of his eye that cardboard, accidentally covered in chemicals, glowed when a cathode tube was switched on nearby. And here physics steps in, gentlemen. We go to the hospital, lie under a huge humming machine, thinking it is the peak of focused scientific thought. We get irradiated to find a fracture, yet it all started simply because a scientist forgot to throw away a piece of dirty cardboard from his desk. We scan our insides for health, using a principle discovered in pitch darkness thanks to banal clutter. It is as if you found lost keys because you tripped over the cat and hit your head on the nightstand. Great radiology turned out to be just a lucky coincidence. Röntgen simply looked into a corner, and now we know what a skeleton looks like without an autopsy. Your trauma doctor owes a statue to that piece of trash. Fact 9. The main joy and hope for pensioners was planned as a boring cure for heart failure. Pharmacists were testing a drug for angina, but it treated the heart poorly. However, male patients categorically refused to return the pills. A surprise people don't like to discuss aloud. The makers of Viagra didn't sit there thinking about how to make millions of men happy across the planet. They just screwed up with heart drops. We see ads with rugged men believing in the power of science. But in fact, it is cardiology's biggest failure turned into a billion-dollar industry. We swallow pills that couldn't fix the motor but accidentally jump-started the drive shaft. It is a logic paradox. You go to fix the brakes and the mechanic accidentally installs nitrous oxide. Pharmacists simply decided not to argue with nature and sold a bug as the millennium's main feature. Pinocchio would be thrilled with such side effects. Fact 10. Humanity's main explosive argument is just a leak into wooden shavings. Alfred Nobel didn't invent stable explosives from scratch. Unstable nitroglycerin simply leaked into diatomaceous earth during transport, suddenly becoming safe to move. Agree, it sounds like a bad joke. We learn in schools the story of the great chemist who created dynamite, changing the course of wars and canal construction. In reality, it is a story about bad packaging and leaky cans. Nobel made a colossal fortune and established the Peace Prize based on the fact that his deadly dangerous product accidentally soaked into dirt on a wagon floor. We build tunnels and blow up mountains with a substance that became obedient only due to loader negligence. Imagine casually spilling coffee on a keyboard and it suddenly starts writing genius code by itself. The Nobel Prize literally grew from a leaking canister. An explosive success, to say the least. Fact 11. A diet paradise without calories began because a chemist simply didn't wash his hands before dinner. Konstantin Fahlberg was messing with coal tar derivatives, forgot about hygiene, and noticed his bread tasted suspiciously sweet. Now swallow this bitter pill of truth. Millions of people worldwide maniacally buy saccharin, adding it to their morning coffee to lose weight and be beautiful. We trick our receptors sponsoring the fitness industry, yet at the foundation of it all lies a basic failure to follow sanitary norms. We eat a synthetic coal derivative simply because one scientist a century ago didn't make it to the sink. If he had been slightly more squeamish, the world would never have known the taste of diet soda. We wash hands with soap to kill germs, but happily eat the results of someone else's dirty fingers. Your inner aesthete should be curling up in a corner and quietly crying right now. Fact 12. Your fitness bar is sweet because of terrible English skills in the lab. A scientist told his assistant to test an unknown chemical using the word test, but the deaf genius heard taste, meaning try it, and without a second thought ate the unknown substance. You heard that right. Sucralose, another pillar of modern dietetics, was born from a simple speech defect. We pay crazy money for sports nutrition, believing blindly that it is the result of complex calculations by nutritionists. In fact, we chew what a surviving assistant accidentally didn't spit out. It is a scene from a bad comedy. Had he said the word with a different accent, the guy could have been poisoned. But instead, they created a sweetener, now found in every supermarket. We sponsor bad hearing on an industrial scale. Learn languages, or you will have to feed on translation errors. Fact 13. Pocket fire was invented while desperately trying to scrape dried chemical dirt off a wooden stick. Pharmacist John Walker was mixing chemicals. A lump formed on the stick. He angrily struck it against the stone floor, and it flared up. The romance of Prometheus shatters into pieces. We are used to thinking fire is a divine gift or result of a 1,000-year search by sages. But modern matches appeared because someone simply wanted to clean their working tool of stuck-on trash. We buy these little boxes to light candles at a romantic dinner or start a campfire in the woods, unsuspecting that we hold the result of mundane cleaning. Humanity sought a way to tame flame for so long, yet it burst out on its own due to a pharmacist's irritation. It is as if you tried to wipe gum off a shoe and ended up opening a portal to another dimension. The fire god sleeps in dried dirt. Fact 14. The billion-dollar empire of office notes is built on the most pathetic glue in the history of chemistry. A corporation tried to create superglue, but got a loser substance that was so weak it couldn't even hold 2 sheets of paper without leaving marks. Do you really consider sticky notes a genius invention for time management? It is a classic corporate scam. We plaster our monitors with yellow squares, faking busy business activity, while essentially using the industry's most failed product. Glue that doesn't glue is an oxymoron, an absurdity, a mistake of nature. But marketers didn't panic. They took their most shameful defect, cut it into squares, and sold it to us as a productivity tool. If I produced a leaky umbrella, I would call it a shower for walks and you would buy it. Office plankton prays to the chemical impotence of glue. Fact 15. The toy that hypnotizes children on stairs was supposed to dampen harsh vibrations on warships. A military engineer dropped a ship's tension spring on the floor, and instead of just falling, it began to smoothly and rhythmically step down. And again, we see harsh war turning into kindergarten. We buy plastic and metal slinky springs to amuse our kids or relieve stress, thinking it is a special psychological design. But actually, this thing was supposed to hold ship instruments during storms and artillery salvos. We take a harsh naval part, paint it rainbow colors, and launch it down the stairs. It is absolute cinematic absurdity. Imagine a stern admiral who, instead of commanding battle, stares entranced as a spring jumps around the deck. The US Army lost a stabilizer, but kids got hypnosis for a couple of bucks. Fact 16. The high fashion industry owes its color entirely to a dirty puddle. After a failed attempt to cure malaria, chemist William Perkin tried to synthesize a life-saving cure from quinine, but instead got a stubborn mud of a radical purple color. Let's drop the masks from the fashion industry. We spend huge sums on designer dresses and trendy suits, admiring the depth of shades. We think the color mauve is a gift from the muses to great couturiers. In reality, we wear the consequences of a failed medical experiment. A man wanted to save the world from deadly fever, but instead accidentally dyed it purple. It is as if you tried to bake bread and a gold bar accidentally melted out in the oven. Fashionistas on runways strut in a chemical reject that doctors refused. At least now we get malaria beautifully and in trend. Fact 17. The millennium's ideal of plastic beauty started as a creepy, paralyzing poison for cross-eyed patients. Ophthalmologist Alan Scott injected toxin into people to relax eye muscles and suddenly noticed that wrinkles vanished without a trace, along with the cross-eye. Another dose of truth hits right in the forehead. Millions of people voluntarily inject one of the planet's scariest neurotoxins into their faces to look 10 years younger. Botox, which we associate with glamour and red carpets, is just a side effect of treating optical defects. We paralyze our faces with poison originally intended to keep eyes from looking in different directions. We are ready to inject literal bacterial death just to avoid seeing crow's feet in the mirror. The zombie apocalypse has already arrived. It just looks very well groomed and can frown. Your facial expressions have left the chat. Fact 18. The invisible shield for your elite sofa is a random spit of rubber on an old sneaker. A lab assistant accidentally dropped a drop of fluorocarbon rubber on her shoe and realized this spot could now neither be wet nor dirtied. Time to admit our defeat to chaos. We pay crazy money for furniture treatment with protective sprays, believing it is the result of crystal clear nanotechnologies. Actually, the legendary Scotchgard was born from banal clumsiness. We protect our expensive carpets from wine and dirt with a substance that became a discovery only because someone had shaky hands. It is as if you spilled soup on your pants, and the pants suddenly became bulletproof. Marketers sell us invulnerability that appeared due to a lab assistant's dirty shoe. Your snow-white sofa is safe thanks to someone else's butterfingers. Fact 19. What you maniacally pop with your fingers was supposed to hang sadly on your living room walls. Engineers initially tried to create textured plastic wallpaper that would be easy to clean, but nobody wanted to buy this aesthetic nightmare. But there is one nuance that changes everything. The famous bubble wrap, the best antidepressant of modern times and ideal packaging for fragile cargo, is a failed interior design startup. Imagine a room entirely wallpapered in plastic bubbles. It is a ready-made ward for violent patients in a psychiatric clinic. We go crazy with happiness popping these bubbles when unpacking parcels, not understanding that we hold the worst wallpaper in human history. Businessmen simply realized that wrapping TVs in this horror was much more profitable than gluing it to a wall. Thanos snapped his fingers for universal balance while you snap bubbles for degradation. Fact 20. Your sparkling kitchen sink is literally a piece of rejected scrap metal from a dump. Metallurgist Harry Brearley got mad at failed alloys for gun barrels and threw one piece out onto the street. A month later, he noticed this piece was the only one that didn't rust under the autumn rain. Here is the irony of heavy industry. We furnish kitchens with shining stainless steel, paying for it as a premium material, feeling like chefs in a Michelin-starred restaurant. In reality, we eat and wash dishes in an alloy a specialist deemed total garbage. A man sought the perfect weapon for murder but found the perfect material for a pot. It is a paradox of Jedi levels. You create a lightsaber, realize it doesn't cut armor, and start slicing sausage with it. All your shiny cookware is the pride of the trash heap. Your inner aesthete just choked. Fact 21. The breakfast of champions is dried wheat scraps left on a table and then pressed out of greed. The Kellogg brothers accidentally left boiled wheat in the air. It dried out and became hard, but they decided not to throw the product away and rolled it out with rollers. Sounds incredibly healthy? Not really. They sell us corn and wheat flakes as the standard for a healthy start to the day, adding vitamins and drawing athletic tigers on the boxes. We crunch them with milk, thinking we are charging up with energy. In fact, we are eating the culinary mistake of stingy brothers, who felt it was a waste to throw out spoiled porridge. They sold us dried trash disguised as a revolution in dietetics. If I left yesterday's pasta to dry in the sun and then smashed it with a hammer, you would call the paramedics. But the Kellogg's made millions on this. Crunch louder, sponsors of food waste. Fact 22. The icy delight of a hot summer is sweet water forgotten in the frost by an 11-year-old kid. A boy simply left a glass of soda on the porch, forgetting to take out the wooden stirring stick, and frost hit during the night. And here enters the harsh truth about our favorite treat. We stand in lines at bright kiosks, choosing fruit ice with exotic flavors, believing it is a masterpiece of confectionery art. We are played for emotions, though the classic popsicle on a stick was invented by a child who simply didn't clean up his trash outside. We pay huge markups for frozen water with dye, the production technology of which was patented by a scatterbrained schoolboy. It is the same as buying a sandcastle from a child for the price of a real house. Marketers took childish forgetfulness, added strawberry flavor, and sold it back to you. Cold calculation in all its glory. Fact 23. The main acid trip of the 20th century started with a dirty finger and a bicycle ride. Chemist Albert Hofmann accidentally dropped a synthesized substance on his skin. It instantly absorbed, and on the way home, the scientist's world changed its outlines forever. Do you still believe in the strict scientific method? The most powerful psychoactive substance that overturned the culture, music, and consciousness of a whole generation was discovered due to a banal failure to follow safety rules. The man simply didn't wear gloves. Millions of hippies sought enlightenment in this, considering it the key to the secrets of the universe. But it is just a chemical dropped missing the test tube. It is as if you accidentally inhaled cactus pollen and suddenly understood the language of dolphins. A violation of safety rules gifted the world a kaleidoscope in the head. Alice in Wonderland is smoking nervously on the sidelines. Fact 24. The great invisible threat was discovered thanks to lousy cloudy weather and a forgotten stack of photo plates. Henri Becquerel put a piece of uranium in a dark desk drawer on top of packed plates because there was no sun outside for his experiment, and later discovered the rock had exposed them in total darkness. Prepare for disappointment in geniuses. We fear radiation, build sarcophagi over reactors, and write scripts about the post-apocalypse, considering it a complex physical phenomenon. Yet, it was discovered simply because it was cloudy in France, and a scientist threw a glowing rock into a dresser with his stuff. The greatest and most destructive force in nature revealed itself through banal disorder in a drawer. If the sun had been shining that day, we would have lived in ignorance much longer. We opened the doors to the nuclear age through a creaky desk drawer. Chernobyl began with a cloudy sky in Paris. Fact 25. Your grandmother's ideal vision was gifted by sharp shards of plastic cockpits from downed fighters. Dr. Harold Ridley noticed something strange during the war. Shards of acrylic glass hitting wounded pilots' eyes caused absolutely no immune rejection. Reality hits hard. We admire modern eye microsurgery when we get intraocular lenses installed for crazy money, restoring crystal clear vision. We think biocompatible plastic is the result of work by hundreds of genius biologists. Actually, we put material used for military plane glass into our eyes simply because the bodies of wounded soldiers didn't reject this shrapnel. It sounds like body horror. To understand plastic is safe for the eye, we had to wait until someone got blasted with it. Medicine literally copied the consequences of combat wounds and called it a miracle of healing. Cyborgs are among us, and they started with plane crashes. Fact 26. Transparent packaging for your morning sausages was planned as a savior for restaurant tablecloths from spilled wine. Chemist Jacques Brandenburger decided to create a waterproof coating for fabric, but it constantly and nastily peeled off, yet turned out to be an ideal transparent film. Another myth cracks at the seams. We wrap sandwiches in cellophane, cover flowers and products, considering it a genius packaging solution, but it is just a defective tablecloth. The scientist was furious that his coating wouldn't stick to fabric and shed like snakeskin, while enterprising dealers realized this skin could be sold in rolls. We pay to wrap our food in the textile industry's chemical failure. Imagine you invented bad paint that falls off walls in chunks, and they offer to sell these chunks as chips. Cellophane is a monument to failed dry cleaning. Bon appetit through transparent film. Fact 27. The plastic world won only because a scientist got tired of collecting sticky secretions from Asian beetles. Leo Baekeland sought a cheap artificial replacement for shellac, a natural resin from insects, to insulate wires, but created the era of immortal plastic. Take off the rose-colored glasses. We are surrounded by plastic, from smartphones to children's toys. We think it is the crown of chemical engineering created for the progress of civilization. In reality, Bakelite was invented purely out of laziness and greed, because milking beetles in the forests of Asia was too expensive and tedious for the growing electrical industry. Our era of consumption, mountains of non-degradable trash in oceans, and microplastics in our blood, all started with a desire to save money on insects. We replaced organic slime with a permanent toxic monolith. The matrix works flawlessly. To avoid paying for bugs, we poisoned the planet. Greta Thunberg could blame plain human greed for electrical tape. Fact 28. Your suddenly grown thick hair is just a catastrophically crashed blood pressure. Initially, these were harsh pills for hypertensives. They dropped pressure excellently, but bald patients suddenly started growing thick hair all over their bodies. Congratulations, you are again a victim of a side effect. Men spend fortunes on minoxidil, rubbing it on their bald spots, hoping to return past youth and attractiveness. We firmly believe trichologists cracked the code of hair follicles. Nothing of the sort. Pharmacists simply noticed heart patients turning into werewolves, quickly relabeled the bottle, and raised the price 10 times. You smear hypertension meds on your head to appeal to women. It is like curing a runny nose with laxatives but rejoicing that your cough is gone. Your perfect part is just the chemical panic of your blood vessels. Fact 29. Painless surgery was born from drunken clowning at a cheap country fair. Dentist Horace Wells saw a man on laughing gas tear his leg to meat on a bench, laughing hysterically and feeling absolutely no pain. Sounds epic? Reality is even funnier. We lie on the operating table, entrusting our nervous system to an anesthesiologist in a sterile suit. It seems to us the science of shutting off pain was created by councils of academics. Actually, the greatest gift of medicine came out of a sideshow where people inhaled gas for coins and hit each other with sticks to amuse the crowd. A doctor simply looked at a traumatized but joyful idiot and thought, why not pull teeth under this stuff? We sleep under the scalpel thanks to carnival freaks. If not for that drunken haze, we would still endure amputations live. The circus left, but anesthesia remained. Fact 30. Police body armor appeared because of a manic desire to save a little gas on car tires. Stephanie Kwolek sought a light material for wheels so cars would eat less fuel. In the end, she created a thread that stops bullets. Now appreciate the scale of this irony. Special Forces storm buildings in Kevlar gear feeling like invulnerable titans. We associate this material with courage, shootouts, and saving lives. But originally, it was created so your family minivan would visit the gas station less often. The material turned out too cool for regular tires but caught lead perfectly. We wrap our chests in bulletproof fabric that was supposed to churn mud on roads. It is the same as making Captain America's shield out of a kitchen apron. Manufacturers wanted to save on gas but ended up saving thousands of cop lives. The economy must be economical, even if it stops at 9mm caliber. Fact 31. The planet's main snack is simply an act of culinary revenge by a hysterical cook. Chef George Crumb snapped because of a rude client who constantly complained that potatoes were sliced too thick. Crumb sliced them to paper thickness and over-fried them in oil just out of spite. Smell the burnt absurdity? We pay insane money for packs of potato chips where there is more air than food, enjoying the taste and crunch while watching a series. We think it is the ideal recipe for happiness, but it is literally a dish cooked with hate. The cook wanted to humiliate the guest by serving inedible, dry, overcooked pieces, and the guest suddenly was delighted. The billion-dollar fast food industry stands on the foundation of a domestic restaurant scandal. We joyfully eat materialized anger. It is as if you were told to go to hell, and you made that route a tourist hit. Crunch your edible passive aggression with pleasure. Fact 32. Elite pink dessert for crazy money is banally overkept warm cocoa beans. Experts accidentally violated the fermentation technology of special cocoa beans and got chocolate of a natural berry color without a single drop of dye. You really believed in exclusivity. Marketers sell ruby chocolate as the fourth type after black, milk, and white, asking 3 times the money for it. Instagram bloggers squeal with delight filming pink bars. In fact, manufacturers simply screwed up the timer and temperature mode in the warehouse. Beans started oxidizing and blushed like a shy student. Instead of throwing away this spoiled batch, they named it Premium Ruby Variety and hit the jackpot. We overpay for expired goods beautifully wrapped in foil. If I forget cheese on the table, it gets covered in blue mold, and I call it a delicacy. Oh wait, they already invented that too. Fact 33. The mass for developing child motor skills originally served as a sticky roller for erasing coal soot from walls. Initially, this gray paste was sold exclusively in hardware stores, so housewives could scrub dirt from fireplaces. The end of the era of innocence. We buy children bright Play-Doh, rejoicing that it is safe, soft, and smells delicious like vanilla. We sculpt flowers and animals, developing the creative thinking of future geniuses. But as soon as gas heating displaced coal, this mass became useless to anyone. And then the manufacturer simply added food dye to the dirt remover and sold it in the toy aisle. Our children sculpt their first masterpieces from a chunk of industrial cleaning supplies. It is a genius scam. What was previously considered a dirty floor rag has now become the best birthday gift. Disney could film a cartoon about this, where a bar of soap dreams of becoming a toy and tricks everyone. We have reached the very bottom of this well of illusions. Look at the world around you. Antibiotics from trash, radars in the microwave, blood pressure medicine on a bald spot, and bulletproof car tires. Our entire civilization is one giant Frankenstein stitched together from defects, laziness, and accidents, which marketers dressed in a tuxedo and sold to us for the price of gold. We think we control progress, but actually, we just pick up crumbs from someone else's table of errors and call it a scientific breakthrough. Your life is comfortable only because someone somewhere screwed up royally. If you still believe in a perfect world, then your rose-colored glasses are made of that same shatterproof glass from a dirty test tube Subscribe to the channel so you don't miss a new portion of a choice intellectual slap in the face. And by the way, write in the comments which 34th fact we forgot to add to this encyclopedia of human absurdity. Waiting for your genius mistakes. Stay happy in the Matrix.